really cool because last night or this morning I looked and I was like, oh yeah, all these players are in the top 20 on the Challenger leaderboard. And then like later on, BB just lost several games, slipped right the way down. But these are still two teams that are like at the height of their power when it comes to individual strength. And now it's going to be a case of that coordination taking them that last fall.
Yeah, Skumon's topping the charts right now in EU West solo queue, and because of that, or perhaps because of how well he's played it on the LEC stage, his Pantheon immediately banned out by KARMINE. G2 will remove the Ambassador. There are a few ways of thinking about Fearless Draft, and one of them that we did see a bit yesterday in the LTA finals is just give the opposition their strong stuff in the first game. Like, you lose the first game, cool, you got rid of some of their powerful picks. That's not what's happening here, and this is kind of the more conventional idea behind Fearless, the idea that, okay, this whole series we're going to ban the Kalista, we're going to ban the Pantheon, at least when we're on the blue side.
I mean, we saw Fnatic giving away Skarner in the very first game yesterday, just to kind of remove it from the pool in the event that you go the full series. And in a best of 5, that pool is going to shrink very quickly. But so far, it does seem that power picks are going to be taken off the board. Kalista is something we've seen both AD carries thrive on throughout winter. That's going to be removed on the side of KC. But with Vi alongside that, it brings the question, what is their first pick? So many traditional blue side power picks in the form of Vi and Kalista taken away by KC themselves.
Yeah, and that's where I'm kind of looking at it. Do we look at a first pick Ezreal? Do we look at something along those lines? Especially with the Zyra now gone. Maybe jungle, the next high priority?
Yeah, Maokai is where I'm really looking, right? Such a powerful jungler, you don't really want to give it across. Instead, Azir the first pick here. Vladdy's going to pilot that. Will G2 just say, okay, well, Maokai is a possibility for us?
I mean, Maokai Ezreal seems great here. The fact that you get this high engage opportunity coming through from the Maokai, and Hans Sama looked phenomenal on the Ezreal last week as well, so I wouldn't be fully surprised to see them go towards it, and it opens up so many possibilities because you're not just locked down to one style of composition when you have the Ezreal in tow.
I mean, Ezreal has become a power pick for Hans Sama. For those long-time Hans fans, this may come as a bit of a surprise because, I mean, it's not a champion that we have typically associated with him, but this split has become one of his most successful champions with an incredible win rate on it. Now he's going to get his hands on it once more, and the Maokai, as you both suggested, looking to be the lock-in here for G2.
Yeah, so there are a couple of answers you can go to for the Maokai. Sejuani has kind of been the hand trade we saw a lot last year. Wukong, also something that can do relatively well because you can use the clone to block that engage. So I'm curious if that's what Yike would like to go for, and you already have this great setup on the mid-jungle with a lot of CC, plus great team fighting potential.
There's always the possibility of a Mel as well. You can play her in the bot lanes, you can reflect that Maokai engage. I don't think it's the best composition in terms of you've already got a lot of AP threats, but we will see if she rears her head throughout this draft. Instead, Cassante currently the pick for KC, a very strong blindable top laner. Kana very comfortable on it as well, although it will be the first time this year we have seen him piloting the champ.
I will say, getting to see Kalista on Varus once again, this man only knows how to click forwards. He plays with nothing but confidence, and the movement that he showcases on this champion is otherworldly. Whether he's playing the poke lethality or whether he's playing the on-hit, he seems to be incredibly confident on both, and I'm excited to see these AD carries match up as G2 looking to round things out with a Poppy. Traditional, old-school comfort pick for them in the hands of Mickey. Labrov likely looking to showcase that same level of strength.
I am curious to see what happens now, though, with the Cassante blind, because this has kind of been where BB has gotten a little bit funky. Like, we saw the Swain come out as an answer to it as well, so I think KC needs to start looking at those as potential bans coming into this.
I agree with that. I also think there's a very real possibility this Poppy's just going top. Like, Broken played very comfortable on the Poppy. We saw him playing it a lot last year as well, and it does work well into the Cassante. Like, whenever he tries to dash around into the back of a teamfight, Poppy just puts up that steadfast presence.
I would say it's definitely been a bit of an EU special too. As an answer to Cassante, many of our EU top laners have favored the Poppy in this matchup and have found a lot of success both domestically and on the international stage. The Corki ban from the side of KC, trying to remove that from the mid lane pool. Double AD carries plus Maokai is a very present, very powerful scaling front-to-back teamfight composition, and you can see based on this game one, both teams very much looking towards that front-to-back style of play. One of the things that G2 is likely thinking about right now is side lanes. the biggest strength of Azir that we've seen Caps utilize to perfection is how you can utilize the champ on a side lane, scaling, constant pressure, and how quickly you can rejoin with the group. How is G2 going to answer that? Because right now they don't have very solid options.
And the thing was, at the start of the year, picks like the Azir were answered with the Silas, but we saw that G2 just didn't quite have that coordination. They hadn't really got the foundations in place for this squad yet. So I think with the evolution that G2 have now gone through, we could definitely see something like a Silas come out for them in that mid lane if they want to. Even the Yone, a potential pick here, especially when you already have that Maokai plus the Poppy taken away. It could be an easy pick up here for Caps.
I wouldn't mind the Yone. It does push you a little bit down the physical damage route, which can be a bit tricky as the game goes on. Obviously, Leandry's Maokai a possibility.
Yeah, plus, I mean, Ezreal does have somewhat mixed damage, so I think you've got enough flexibility there. Plus, you still got Rumble and stuff that are left open as well for Broken Blade, so plenty of options in this one, but it does look like that Poppy may be going to the top with the Blitzcrank. Talia could be taken.
Makes a lot of sense. We've seen it as an answer into Azir because you can get early priority in the matchup. We did see Jackie's over the weekend as well, prioritizing those symbiotic boots just so that you have a little bit more mobility.
So excited,
it certainly was. But that's why it's so resonant in my mind. Just because of how much additional roaming power you have. And we talked about how we needed to see someone to match in the side lane. Talia is a great champion for that.
Looks like Sejuani is going to be the lock-in here for Yike. Long range, non-committal engage, so powerful, especially when you have the Chain of Corruption, the Emperor's Divide follow-up. You also have the ability just to act as a front line for your team. Can be a little bit trickier into the Poppy. Obviously, the Arctic Assault can be negated by that Steadfast Presence, but if you use the ultimate initially, you already have that CC layering down. I'm
curious if, I was going to say Targamas wants to opt into the Lulu here as well, because now that you've got that engage, you don't really need it coming through from your support. Plus, into things like the Poppy, Rel sucks, Leona sucks, it's a miserable time all around, so yeah, nice. Lebrov can answer immediately with the Blitzcrank, which I really do like. It's a great answer into the Lulu. Yeah.
Well, they've got the Blitzcrank at least. Okay, something a little bit exciting. Let's get into game 1 of this best of 5, though. The crowd uproarious right now. The G2 and KARMINE core fans on either side of the arena. Switch log into the game, get onto the map. You can see Hansama going for the cleanse on this Ezreal. Kalista doing the same on the Varus. Obviously, the ability to get away from the Glacial Prison, the Chain of Corruption. We've already talked about the CC layering that can come out from KC.
Yeah, it's also just for Hansama. If you end up trying to go all in with the Blitzcrank, kind of the best answer for Targamas is to immediately Whimsy you. So having that cleanse means that if that hook lands successfully, you're going to be able to follow up immediately. Plus as well, if you end up getting hit by any sort of ultimate from Yike, you're in a decent spot. So I think for Hansama it makes a lot of sense, and there's just not a huge amount of backline threat for him in general. So a healer, a barrier, not going to save you in these sort of situations.
Now, we did talk about in the draft his incredible win rate on the champion, but 4-0 so far in the winter splits. You can see his incredible damage per minute, which of course on Ezreal can typically be quite high because of his range and poke ability, but it just showcases the growth and development he has shown as an AD carry player. We know him for his hyper-aggressive ADs, and they're looking to get hyper-aggressive here in the early game as they go for a bit of a delayed invade.
Last time Hansama lost on Ezreal was against Gen G back in 2023 Worlds main event. Won on it twice last year, has won on it 4 times in a row so far in 2025. G2 will invade towards this bot side. No lane swaps coming out from either team as of yet. The first push though for Targamas and Kalist is gained, so Hansama and Lebrov will just take the long route round to the lane. Not going to lose any experience, might lose a couple of minions under the tower because it's going to be hard for the Blitzcrank really to step up if Kalist and Targamas stayed around. They don't, they back away, so these should all be farmed by G2.
Yeah, they'll be fine. They'll be able to pick them all up, and then I think it becomes a case of, as this wave starts to push out, can KC kind of successfully lean that towards their tower? The shorter wave going to be the shorter lane going to be nicer for them when you're against the Blitzcrank, but they're just going to continue to push, so looking at least to try and chip away in the turret, but have to be careful that Blitzcrank doesn't hook you underneath the structure.
Now look at the pathing we're getting from the junglers. Yike starting on his wolves, moving down towards his Krogs, wanting to be able to clear out that bot side of the map.
Nice hook from Lebrov onto Targamas, but the power of the Lulu, especially in the early game, is if you don't have enough burst, she just help-pixes herself, puts a shield down. It's really hard to trade back in. It's
also the bone plating coming in a lot there, so Targamas not having that means that then he's going to be a little bit more vulnerable, but you have to land a second one to really take advantage of that. Whereas Lebrov in this matchup will be going off of second wind, so definitely going to be looking to heal up over time in this sort of situation.
I do want to come back to that point about pathing though, Veddy, because as you said, Yike went wolves into his Krugs. What that does is not only mean that skirmishing has to back out of that side of the jungle, otherwise he's going to be, fought in a 3v1. Caps here. has to flash away from Yike, but it also means that his bot lane can play a little bit more aggressively because they know that Skumon isn't just going to come back through the tri-bush and actually gank them as they push up that lane.
I mean, Caps was pretty aware of where Yike was likely to be because they saw him thanks to that early ward pathing towards bot side. Ooh,
flash, hook, Kalist gets hooked. He's only got the cleanse and he doesn't have a hope of getting out. Doesn't burn the summoner. First blood to G2.
A nice punish in the bot lane, 2 versus 2. Kalist, he doesn't respect Flash, and he ends up paying for it with his life.
I mean, Labrov has been known for these hook champions. It was a Thresh in the past, and now popping off the Blitzcrank. G2 off to a phenomenal start in this bottom lane.
I mean, as you rightly said, Labrov last year when he was playing on BDS, Rel was a champion that he often leaned toward, but Blitzcrank was another one that he showcased phenomenal performances on. And he's off to a good start here, the G2 bot lane, finding G2 their first early gold lead.
Now, LeBlanc was 6-2 on Blitzcrank last year. He had an absolute whale of a time on this pick. It was more situational, as we see here. G2 leaving the last pick for their new support.
I think now, though, it puts KC in a really uncomfortable spot, because if you want to try and commit towards, say, the Void Grub contest, Lulu's so vulnerable now with that flash burn, so LeBron can try and play for picks on towards Targamas. So I think for KC, you can see they're way more passive now. I don't think they can really contest G2 on the map if they're trying to bring supports into the equation.
Love what Skumon's been doing in this early pathing. He started on the enemy Raptors thanks to the delayed invade. He did a bot side clear into full top side clear. He conceded the top side scuttle after Yike forced the flash out from Caps and he needed to go back to base. And then he moves back bot in time for the Raptors respawn so that he can just stay that bit ahead of Yike. You can see he's about to tick over to level 5. The Gromp is spawning as well, which means that bot lane could be a prime target for a gank. No flash available on Targamas, and the Brov primed and ready to set up for a play.
Yeah, having that Hex Flash makes it so easy to try and go for. So, yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. And I think that's where you're kind of seeing Yike now immediately moving down to try and cover this on the bottom side. But they need to crash that wave, and I don't know if they're going to get it in time.
We'll have a look down there in a moment as the TP comes out from Kana towards the top side. They will be able to crash the wave in time. Wouldn't be surprised as well if Skumon, just wants to cover this, then go Gromp into his own wolves, into his Razorbeaks, because as much as stealing away camps is good, you also want to be making sure your jungle is on a cycle, right? You want to keep getting them leveling up, and it gets you towards the grubs as well, which are going to spawn in about 30 seconds if you path up towards that top side.
And the timing right now is still good for KC, and because of that push in the bot side of the map, they're able to rotate up towards mid. Grubs is going to be that point of contention. Labrov is here to match as Hansama catches that bot wave. Small XP advantage on the side of G2 is Skumon halfway to level 6.
I'm curious how GT want to try and play this, though, because I'm in two minds. You can either, one, continue the clear you were talking about, Medic, and go towards those Void Grubs, or do you try and use the fact that you don't have that flash on Targamas anymore and punish through that Blitzcrank once more, even a flash engage from Skumon. So you could try and contest on a potential Dragon take. So it looks like at the moment, Skumon is basically trying to read, hey, KC will trade Void Grubs for Dragon, which is why Skumon is now going towards this bottom side. But you can see the wards are already there, so Skumon will just get spotted while it's the Void Grub take from KC.
For KC as well, they're playing around the fact that Caps doesn't have flash, right? If they can put more pressure towards that mid lane, if they can move Targamas up, they make it so that Labrov and Skumon have to hover around mid a little bit more. Caps might be caught out here as Yike is coming in from the side, but he can just path down towards the bottom. The Emperors of Ike just clipping him though, and the Weaver's Wall still going to be stunned on it. Well played by KC. Caps levels up, should still fall. Vladdy on the board for KARMINE Corp.
Brilliant play from KC in the mid lane. Vladdy just clipping Caps on the edge. Sets up nicely for Yike on the gank. Now he can return over to those Void Grubs as Skumon finishes off the Dragon.
The former G2 jungler sets his sights on his former teammate by working with Vladdy to punish the flashless Talia. They equalized the kills, the gold relatively even. Not all of the grubs was secured. We'll see how that impacts the rest of the game because it does, of course, delay the second spawning of the grubs. G2, they set their sights on the bot side of the map for now, but let's look back at this play.
Yeah, you can see Vladdy just barely gets in on towards Caps, and then Caps tries to go for the wall out, but you end up getting locked down by Yike. Can't really escape. The level up puts a little bit of distress onto KC, but it's nothing too hard.
Didn't really matter. Vladdy still had flash if Caps had got any further away. Nature's Gas coming out from Skumon, but look at the damage ready onto Labrov. Kalist with the cleanse away, almost got Labrov in the end. It's Targamas that falls. Kalist was a gnat's whisker away from killing Labrov.
They almost get an even 1-for-1. but G2, they make the execution happen. They find themselves another kill, very much directed towards this bot side of the map. It seems that G2's game plan is play through the strength. G2 have already found a 2v2 kill on that bot side. Keep attacking it. The flash from Targamas not quite available. It's about to come up soon, but they're able to find that small pick, and they'll extend their kill lead that slightly bit further.
Yeah, I'm now curious as to what G2 want to try and achieve, though, because you're in a position where those Void Grubs are still up and available on that top side, and you kind of want them to cycle so you can actually look towards the next ones. But KC never finished them off, and I don't know if G2 realized, because you should hear the kind of roar.
Being slain,
yeah, but it hasn't come through, so nobody really paid attention to it.
And there is also the argument just to leave them. If you think you have bot pressure, if you're playing well through bot, you can just play for the next Drake. Yes, of course, if you can take extra advantages, that's beneficial. But if Skumon thinks he needs to spend his time around bot lane to continue to punish Kalist and Targamas in this 2v2 or 3v2 when Skumon's there, perhaps it's better just to leave the grubs up.
Yeah, and I can see that. I think it's just when you're in a position where you have now fully covered your bottom side of the map, giving them a bit more turret-taking possibility is always really nice, especially when you want to try and keep playing around this bottom side. And in an awful lot of situations, KC will have decent wave clear coming through from Kalist, so I think having the extra chip damage is nice as Vladdy.
Oh, the Unraveled Earth just getting Vladdy with the stun there. Caps can put a little bit more damage down. You can see that Targamas is just waiting around the corner. Will shield up Vladdy. It was very close there. Vladdy almost had another Emperor's Divide on the G2 mid.
Yeah, I mean, I think he made the right call in that he didn't want to get knocked back. The most dangerous part of that play was him being under tower range.
Kalist has no summoners. He's stepping into darkness there. That was greedy from Kalist. Hans Summer and LeBron punish him rightly. He didn't have anyone on his side of the map and didn't know where Hans and Lebrov were.
Yeah, I mean, the big question was, what was the information shared on Lebrov? When was the last time that he was spotted? Because I think his game plan there was just, I'm going to ward the Tri-Brush. Yep. You know, I'm not doing anything too crazy, but he definitely didn't expect that. Ends up giving away a kill. 0-2-0 now for the AD carry of KC.
And Hans is huge. Like, we're already highlighting how good Hans has been on this Ezreal pick. Then you start off with 3 kills to boot as well. Triforce now completed. This man is just going to take over the game from this position, and it's now on KC to figure out how the hell you're supposed to deal with them. And I don't think you have the threat on us.
Yeah, and this is the battle we've been looking at coming into this week. The AD carries Kalist, this rookie superstar whose name has been around the scene for the last few years, now finally making his debut on the LEC, getting into this upper bracket final. Hans Summer, who's been around for so long, but has also sometimes been maligned by fans saying he's not as good as he should be for G2. This year, having a stellar performance, especially on the Ezreal.
Hans Summer has just been extremely solid for G2. But that should take nothing away from Kalist as Lebrov sets his sights on Kalist once more.
Kalist just hasn't got an opportunity to actually go in.
He's at his own base!
It's just harassment. That's all Lebrov's doing, trying to make sure that Caps can come in as well. The flash over the wall, wild growth onto Kalist. There's too many wards on the blast cone, and Kalist can't auto it.
Kalist can't get onto the map! The man is just trying to run back into his own base, and G2 found him, but Caps now may not be safe.
Does have the flash away from Yike, looking for the permafrost here. Vladdy coming in as well, he's hooked away. Caps starting to walk away, but in the end, Vladdy's soldiers will secure the kill. And the battle between these two teams right now is Camp Kalist and Camp Caps.
Yeah, they're really trying to pick on the stars of the teams. And to be fair, for both sides, it's working, but G2, they're getting a greater gold lead out of it. Look at this Ezreal, a 1.5k gold lead. Trinity Force finished 11.5 minutes into the game. I mean, Hans Summer is just so strong and is in a prime position to carry. And I mean, Kalist, he's just been the target from G2.
I will say though, like, look, Hans definitely the big lad on the Rift, but Vladdy's not that far behind him. 2 kills himself, Nashor's Tooth now completed. Like, this Azir is also going to hurt. So you still have to be a little careful as G2, especially as Caps has been repeatedly the focus of this camp. So you still need as G2 to keep your mid laner safe. Otherwise, this Azir can be in a very similar position, especially as we look towards Dragon that's about to spawn. You can see KC starting to move on towards this mid lane. They want to get pushed and start to drift down in towards that Dragon. Look for some of these opportunities.
And although it was a long time ago, remember back to the first game of the split, it was Vladdy on the Victor that really carried KARMINE Court against G2 in that matchup. Now he's in a very strong position on this Azir, as you say, 773 gold lead, now extending over 800. Second Dragon on the Rift. G2 are looking for it. The grubs were taken earlier by KARMINE Court, so these will respawn in about 2 minutes' time. G2 obviously will have pushed through bot. KARMINE Core trying to group up around mid to get prio of their own.
And that's the big problem here. Kalist can't really get access over towards that river because he doesn't know where the Blitzcrank is. And also there's a lot of vision that's set up in that little bush on the bottom side, so they'll have full information. So KC just have to give this. They can't really compete when Kalist is so separated, even as the reset, in case they look for Dragon immediately to a bot side play.
And remember earlier we talked about the consequences of delaying the death of the Grubs means that G2, after securing that second Dragon, will be in a position to contest. They're going to secure this bot tower for now. KC wisely path away from it, knowing that there's not much they can do. Instead, they set their sights on Broken Blade.
All out from Kana. Broken Blade looking for the steadfast presence, gets the root, or the grounding at least on Vladdy, stopping him from his advance. It will be the feats of strength to G2 as they take that bot lane tier 1.
And G2 are going to be, well, they're going to be delighted with it, right? Like, you've now successfully won the battle between Azir versus Ezreal. Ezreal's going to be able to get this top lane, or bot lane tower. You then shift him up towards the top side. Broken Blade has already done good work on that and receiving 2 plates as well. So suddenly you're in position for all of these objectives as you need to. So at the moment, KC trying to answer on this top side, but here comes the Ezreal ult.
True Shot Rush coming out as well. Look at the CC on Kalist. He does have flash and he has the cleansing, he has a wild growth, but it's not enough to save him. Kalist a little bit overextended as Broken Blade pounces.
Uncharacteristic misplays from Kalist as G2 find another kill onto the AD carry. 0-4-0 now for the Varus as G2 continues to grow their lead.
It's G2 in playoffs. Didn't look so hot for them in the regular season, but they are coming in full swing in this playoffs, and KC unfortunately feeling the exact same way that Fnatic did in a lot of their series. Now in a position to continue back out onto the map. Void Grubs in just a moment's time. G2 can try and play towards that, or even start to again just shift people up towards this top side and look for the turret take there as well.
And of course you look at the bottom of your screen and you see a 2.2k, 2.3k gold lead in favor of Hans Sama, but really the star of this game has been Labrov. 100% KP on one of his go-to champions, a player that had a lot of question marks surrounding him upon his arrival into the roster. But here, in this best of 5 game 1, he's having a fantastic performance.
Justifiably had a lot of questions around him as well, I think. Like, he didn't have a great start to winter, nor did G2. Targamas, on the other hand, has actually leveled up substantially from where we saw him last year, especially with him teaming up with Kalist. It's a duo we've been expecting to see for a while, ever since Kalist was announced as coming up to the LEC lineup.
And I think a huge amount of that conversation for both sides has been how do they interact with their junglers, and I think that's where Targamas has leveled up incredibly well in the mid game, working with Yike, looking for picks, looking to try and get vision control down. But in this sort of situation against the Blitzcrank, they're always going to win out in that 2v2, and it's really hindered what has been kind of a shining light for KC in their mid games, which has been this duo working together.
Slash from
well.
Labrov.
He's getting swift. He lands the hook there onto Targamas, pulls him back. The wild card comes up as well, but Hans Sama already on a rampage now with the Nature's Grasp coming out. There's the knockback with the seismic shove. Yike, yeeted across the wall. He goes back in. Vladdy trying to put all the damage down he can. Is it enough? Emperor's Divide will not kill off Skewmond. G2 wipe away KARMINE Core in the bot tri-bush.
G2 parted the seas, and KC are finding, well, Caps is on the way towards Kalist as well, but Hans, he's got some serious damage. Not quite able to get it.
Movement speed from Kalist, enough to get him to safety, but G2 are quickly snowballing. Oh, what a snipe from Hans Sama as he gets another kill onto Kalist, sends him back to base. Kalist may finish his first item, but Hans Sama is dominating here in this first game.
This has been absolutely insane, and again, it's Labrov that's setting up these plays. He's been consistently with Skewmon. Hans Sama able to come in over the wall here to help out, and it looks good. Like Vladdy, again, we said he's kind of that big damage dealer in KC, but numbers advantage for G2, and G2 do such a good job of playing around this Emperor's Divide. He wants Skewmon, but watches Vladdy goes in, tries to send them in, but the Hans Sama arcade shifts away, Caps with the flash, Skewmon with the twisted advance. Everything misses there.
It's also the setup from the twisted advance. You go in with it, seismic shove immediately afterwards. Like, the CC chaining from G2 in that fight was sublime. Kalist in the end burns the flash to get away from the slow from Caps, and then Hans Sama's like, well, can you dodge this? He's hugging the turret, which makes it even harder because you can only step up, and the true shot barrage is always going to connect.
Really putting the CC into Camp Kalist this game.
Camp Caps, it's all about CC. All about CC, and G2 now 4,500 gold ahead. We wondered if the series would be close, and it still could be, but what a statement this has been from G2 in game 1. Doubt them at your peril. It is the LEC, after all. Labrov here stepping forward. Yike perhaps looking to smite away the Rift Herald. Can't get there in time. One Arctic Assault back across the wall.
The problem is they've abandoned topside as well, though. I actually thought you'd just see G2 immediately shift up towards that top half, but they're basically looking to force in towards this mid lane. Drag it in a minute's time, or sorry, in a couple of seconds' time, but I do think they might be able to get this turret here off the back.
I mean, they do have the Rift Herald if they want to put it down. Don't really want to overextend, but look at the damage from Hansama already onto Yike, who's got Heart Steal first. Kana having to Pathmaker his way away from the hook. Is Labrov? He's trying to work out what his first item is going to be. He's not going for the tanky, you know, doesn't need a lock. It is really more about getting that ability haste, getting those hooks down. Yike trying to get around the jungle, but can't get anywhere close to the dragon. Labrov continues to be a thorn in the side.
I thought he was going to hook the Krug as well, just to put salt in the wound.
I think Blitzcrank Hook without AP doesn't do that much damage as Broken Blade trades into Vladdy towards the top side. It would have been salt in the wound, though, if he managed to hook it across the wall. G2 firing on all cylinders right now.
Broken Blades, he's spotted out Vladdy, and it looks like he's going for a fight.
Targamas with the wild growth across the wall. Broken Blade maybe overextending a bit now, gets the knockback. The keeper's verdict is that Vladdy lives to fight another day.
Nice bit of pole vaulting there. Able to make some distance. Vladdy choosing not to go back for the wave.
So Betty,
yes.
Pole vaulting, you go for height.
Okay.
You're not just eating yourself, but it's not that jumping over the river like they do in Scandinavia.
Nice bit of pole vaulting because he went so high.
Yeah,
he went very high.
Height.
That was the...
Not distance.
But I know. He went high.
Vertical. Get some height then,
Unbelievable.
Betty.
Goddamn medic.
You know? We haven't cast together in like 3 weeks, so I have to get all my pedantry out immediately.
I see. Yeah, there's a lot.
I'll go get a tea if you guys want to work this out.
Arakan, 20 seconds. Look at the control that G2 now have over the topside jungle. They've completely abandoned bot side. They're setting up around the enemy jungle and not allowing Yike to play. These neutrals now belong to G2. Labrov utilizing the Fog of War to create that pick potential. And we thought in a meta where team fights have been prevalent that we'd end up with another one, but no, this has not been about team fights, it's all been about the picks as the Herald gets strong. As
we see the blue wall growing on the bottom of the screen, KARMINE Corp trying to use it as inspiration as Kana will continue to push through bot.
But I also love how G2 are setting themselves up on the map here. They understand that essentially 2 people are needed to try and go against Hansama in that mid lane. So they're just using him as essentially your split pusher and working with everyone else. You've got enough CC and lockdown that if someone steps too far forward, you can still look for that play in the top half. But they're just like annihilating any hope KC has of holding on to these structures, and it's because of Hansama.
Right now, KC's best bet is to keep funneling resources into Vladdy, get him to a point where he can potentially be that late game carry for the team. The front to back from KC is still very real, but they're going to have to rely on G2 making mistakes as the gold lead continues to grow in their favor.
They also have to deal with so much poke, Benny. Like with the Ezreal being at 3 items already, Caps as well sitting at 1.5. Like he's not very fed this game, but he's only 300 gold behind Vladdy. It's going to be so hard for KARMINE Corp to actually play a front to back because their front line's going to be gone before they can even get to G2.
But I don't even think G2 have to take the fight. Like, trying to play these lanes just sucks as KC. Because if you try and go for the play on top side, okay, cool, Labrov speeds himself up and looks for the pick onto Targamas like this.
Targamas has flash. There's a Weaver's Wall coming out, and with the Twisted Advance landing, I don't think Targamas is going to have a chance to flash.
And that's, as I was saying, KC try to make the play on top side, G2 immediately go for the straggler that's trying to make their way to the top side. If you try and go onto the mid lane, well, you always have the Talia that can ult in towards the mid lane. Like, there is no winning in this situation as KC.
This composition's ability to collapse is just so fast. With the Talia ultimate, with the CC that they have combined with the Blitzcrank and the Maokai, KC now looking for an angle into the Atakan.
And Yike steal it. He's done that quite a few times. Skumon Mikhail's immediately by Labrov. Yike trying to get in here, but Broken Blade's going to keep him at bay. The Otacon secured, and now the fight's life on G2. Chain of Corruption hits Caps down towards the bottom side. Yike's still tanky, but he's knocked back into the middle of G2 once again. The all-out coming out from Kana. He's knocked back as well by Broken Blade. And KARMINE Corp dive in, but find no way of getting out. TP behind as Broken Blade's looking for the flank, and Labrov's looking to send Vladdy 6 feet under. BB now on the flank. Kalist has the flash. Targamas has one of his own as well, but isn't going to get the chance to use it. BB still chasing. Kalist only has cleanse, so cleanse the slow, but knocked into the wall. Has nothing left, and he can't even kill a Broken Blade.
It's a 22-minute ace for G2. A statement is being made in game one that KC, if you want a title in the LEC, this is what you have to go through. Firing on all cylinders, G2 have a 10k gold lead.
It feels like it's G2's tournament and we're all just living in a G2 setup. They get the Atacon and Yike is doing everything he can to try and get into it, but there's nothing he can do. And even here, like, Targamas isn't in this position, so now you're just forced to take the 4v5, and they try desperately to get on towards Caps. They can't do anything. Lebrov is the next target, still can't get the kill, because look at the Kalist completely out of mana, not able to get into a position to really fight, and it's just doomed.
The hardest part for that fight for Kalist was every time he tried to step up, Lebrov just walked towards him. Like, he didn't even he literally just walked towards him and he said, I dare you to try, and he was willing to play that, and so it made it so hard for Kalist to even approach, and he's already so far behind, and here comes the wall.
Lebrov looking for the hook, lands it onto Kana, but Kana had the path maker to get out. Targamas pops the heal, still takes half his HP from Hans Summer. Mystic shot just wide at the end there. There is a Drake up for G2 if they want to fight for it. Right now, they thought they caught KARMINE out of position, and they had, but they weren't able to catch anything more than just the heal out from Targamas.
And they'll just fall back over towards that dragon. Still going to look for the two-man push in the top half as well, just to ensure that all their waves are in the correct positions, but yeah, I don't know what you're supposed to do in this sort of position.
I mean, you start thinking about game two.
Yeah.
That's what you do. You start thinking about, hey, it's a best of 5. There's still plenty of opportunities to turn this around. We're in our first fearless best of 5 in the LEC as well, so a lot of these champions are gone from the series, which means this is going to be a very interesting dynamic because it's now about adaptation, your ability to showcase your prep. And sure, things have fallen short, but a lot of that is because of how things happen in the bot side of the map. This Blitzcrank was so instrumental for G2's early game. Lebrov consistently finding picks across the board, working with Skirmon to catch people out and shut Kalist down, has really just mitigated KC's ability to really set up for any objectives. And the one team fight we did see around the top side, I mean, at that point, it was too little too late.
And I do think it makes it interesting for things like the Renata as this series goes on, because Blitzcrank has kind of been one of the big answers to it, still alongside Nautilus and stuff, but it means that these kind of Enchantress supports have less things to worry about as this series goes on, and will probably start to rise up a little bit in priority.
Kalista Renata really high prior from now on. Obviously, Kalista's already up there. Yike gonna face check straight into Hans Summer. The rest of KC were on their way as well. Kalista now resetting. Wonder if he's got his second item complete. He's about 1.5 behind Hans Summer, who has a 5.5 thousand gold lead in just the AD carry position. G2 setting up around the Baron right now, trying to deny KARMINE as much vision as possible, and they have done that relatively fruitfully. KARMINE no vision at all towards the pit.
Kalist went back for Winsus though, so again we're in this 4 versus 5 situation, which is why G2 started up the Baron, and Lebrov just looking for this play over the wall.
Yike going forward, Pathmaker in, Broken Blade immediately dives onto Kana, who goes all out. The Baron now taken by G2, Kana at half HP, the hook lands on Targamas, and immediately he's rooted up. The wild growth is a wild nope as he falls. Vladdy dives in with the Emperor's Divide, but he only finds a tree, and now he's the one going timber. Yike and Kalist, the last two standing. Lebrov's having none of it. Hans Summer with another. Yike trying to walk away wounded from his former teammates, but he's locked up by Skirmon, and he'll fall. It's a triple for Hans Summer. 11-0-6 as G2 walk down mid.
G2 righting the wrongs of the regular season in this first game. They cut down Yike as their last member, and now they will march towards the Nexus.
An impressive performance in game 1 as G2 stamped their authority in this best of 5.
It's a demolition, lads. G2, 27 minutes, 14,000 gold lead, 20 kills to 3. And it seems like KARMINE haven't really woken up yet. Let's see if they can awake from their slumber for game 2.